All right, let's go to him now. I went a little long. I apologize for that. Let's go to him, the one and only Brandon Gibson. Brandon, look at him. Oh, man. Look at the tie and everything.
Old dapper scrapper.
Are you going somewhere? Something important?
I just, I wear many hats. I'm not always a trainer. I'm not always a martial artist. Sometimes I'm a bit of a businessman. So
I can see that.
Morning attire.
All right, well, let's talk about it. How are you feeling about the win on Saturday? Obviously, Jon was in pretty much command the whole way. I'm sure no event or no fight is perfect, but that was relatively close, the knee notwithstanding.
We hold ourselves to very high expectations and very high standards. That's what we train for. So when we won, it wasn't this big celebration. It was, okay, what's next? I think, we're very happy with the performance. If you take away the illegal knee, it would have been a 50-44 scorecard in a championship fight, which is, dominant at that level. So we're happy with it, but we always want more.
All right. Tell me about what went right. What was the game plan for Anthony Smith? What were you guys anticipating?
We knew he's tough. This guy has a lot of experience, a lot of fights under his belt, and a very high finish rate. He either finishes or gets finished, and he had only had one decision. We wanted the full body attack. We knew he didn't check kicks very well. He was susceptible to body shots. He has a chin of granite. And I think he was a little suspect on the ground, especially in wrestling positions and scrambles. So, we were trying to be well prepared in every single area that we could. Anthony surprised me in his work against the fence, being able to stop some of Jon's takedowns. He sprawled on Jon pretty good, I believe, in the fourth round. He's an athlete. He's very tough, comes from a great team. I have a lot of respect for Mark Montoya and the guys at Factory X, and we knew they would come prepared. When you fight Jon Jones, you have to be ready. You have to be ready. But in the end, Jon was able to kind of take away anything Anthony really wanted to do.
I will say that I thought his wrestling was much improved. This is actually proof of those arguments that when you defend a title in your weight class, maybe it's not necessarily fight over fight as glamorous as a champ scenario. However, the contenders who get to that spot, that's their maximum opportunity, and you often see the maximum effort. He was, I think, a little bit defensively more sound than it sounds like you guys. I'm sure you were prepared for it, but in execution, he didn't get finished. He lasted a full 5. I think that's exceeding expectations for some.
Absolutely. And, we wanted the finish. I thought Jon would put him away. I was thinking by the third round. The fourth round, we really saw Jon turn it up. And, I feel bad about the knee. A split second later or one state line over, that probably would have been a fight ender. I feel bad about it. I'm really, really happy that Anthony was able to get up and continue from that. I think, it shows why he has that Lionheart moniker.
Anything from Jon? What's interesting? Jon's game is complex. I don't know how to describe it exactly. He's not throwing the spinning stuff much anymore, but it's still complex in its ingenuity. So it might be a jab, it might be a cross, it might be a front kick. It's not, he's not a Ong Bak back elbow, but there's a certain degree of, I'm gonna use the word simplicity for a lack of a better term. How do you think of his game? It's complex, but it's not quite so flashy, is it?
I think Jon has one of the deepest playbooks in all of MMA. I break fighters down for a living. I train a lot of very high-level fighters. I've trained a lot of Hall of Famers. Nobody's playbook is as deep as Jon's. Now, he's not the crazy volume combination striker, but he can throw just about any strike from any stance. And I think the beauty in what Jon does is the simplicity.
Anthony Smith hit a few moments there. He was kind of stuck in like this sitting turtle position. What did you make of that? Because he wasn't getting finished, but he wasn't able to launch any offense of his own.
We had seen that in a lot of Anthony's fights, that he was really good at going 2-on-1 on a wrist and trying to hold the position. And then he would take some ground and pound damage, but he was comfortable in that position. And then he'd wait and create a scramble. He did it against Volkan. He did it against Andrew Sanchez. We'd seen him go for it quite a bit. So we'd really trained in that 2-on-1 wrist control, big knees to the body, big ground and pound, big passes when Jon was ready. And I think that's what we saw in the fourth round was just Jon unloading knees to the body, knees to the ankle, finding ground and pound when he needed it, and just riding him, controlling him, and grinding him.
When folks say, hey, how can you finish somebody as decorated, and this, I don't mean this to be demeaning to Smith, but higher ranked guys like Cormier, like a Gustafsson, but not Smith. What is your assessment of why that happened?
Sometimes it's like a clash of trains. DC2, they were throwing hard. They were in the open mat. You're slipping into strikes, you're rolling into strikes. When you're playing very defensively and trying to wait on the cage, there's not as much just inertia clashing. So it becomes a bit of a grind. And Jon was very smart in his pace. The one area Anthony was very dangerous in, you look at fights like the Volkan fight, where Volkan's clearly in charge for 2 rounds and almost punches himself out, gasses, and then Anthony comes on. So we didn't want Jon to exert everything in these ground and pound moments, get tired and fatigued, and then give Anthony a puncher's chance.
What impact, if any, did the news about and we've been over it a million times, but when the picogram stuff came out again this week, what news, if any, did it have on Jon? Or what impact, rather?
None. We were sitting at breakfast. He saw Twitter. He'd kind of been briefed on it a day earlier. We just went right back to our breakfast and right back to our training schedule.
Okay.
These are things that are expected the time being, and until we really understand what's going on, and I'll leave that up to the experts at USADA and everywhere else to continue to educate all of us, and we just stay focused on what we can control.
That being said, you were with him in this camp, and he was tested, for whatever that is worth, to an extraordinary degree. I wonder what impact that had on him.
None. This is stuff he's prepared for. He's been at this level for a long time, and I think he gladly welcomes all the testing possible, which shows with 3 different bodies testing him. We just want to prove to everybody that we're clean and we're the best in the world at what we do.
All right, let's talk about that knee real quickly. As our own Mark Ramundi had pointed out, as you did as well, had that bout taken place in California, no biggie, right? But Nevada has their own rule set that's partly advanced but partly antiquated. I'll ask you as a coach, were you aware of the difference? Because I'll be honest, as a media guy who's covered this, even I forgot about it.
Yeah, we try to be as best we can, and the referees usually do a pretty good job breaking it down in the locker room on, okay, where is the hand and where does the weight need to be in this state? What is 3 points in this state? Is it fingertips? Is it palm? Is it fist? Is it I don't know if we went over that. That's in as detail as we should. I was under the understanding that Jon couldn't knee. I think Jon was just waiting for that little millisecond. Anthony's trying to play that up and down game right there. And Jon knew there was short time left in the round. I think he was just trying to time it for the second Anthony lifted up that hand. And that, there's some pitches where it looks really damn close to just unleash that knee. It was more of a timing thing than a state and a commission thing.
I see. And again, for the folks who are like, oh my God, here's Jon Jones out here cheating again. It sounds like, what's interesting, it sounds like, well, of course, you guys don't pay it much mind, I don't think. He doesn't seem nearly as bothered by it either. He was all smiles with a turtleneck at the post-fight press conference.
He's looking sharp, that's for sure. I like seeing Jon and Ric Flair drip. I'm glad Anthony got up from it. I've actually worked regional shows where, we're up 2 rounds, we're going into the third, and we had a similar situation happen, and it wasn't bad, and the other fighter took the way out and got the DQ win. And it's a rough night, and I just didn't think in a world title fight Anthony would want to do that, and he didn't. He definitely looked at us pissed off in the corner. He was not happy, and we weren't happy either. We don't want to see fouls in this game. I want to see a good, clean, competitive competition.
I saw a video. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't quite tell the context, but what it looked like was John and you guys were all walking back to his locker room, and Anthony was there greeting you and giving you like a congratulations as each one went through the line. I have to say, I find that an incredible moment of sportsmanship.
Yeah, absolutely. We just got done taking photos. Everybody's kind of in this back media room, and Anthony was in there, and we all shook hands and told him he was a true Lionheart. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for Mark Montoya and Factory X. On the regional scene, Albuquerque and Denver, we compete against each other a lot. I've known these guys for a long time. They've come down to Jackson's. We've gone up to Denver. We're going to be seeing them in 2 weeks, and we always want good sportsmanship with those guys. And especially after a championship bout like that, where two guys put on the line for 5 rounds, you can't have nothing but admiration.
All right, so let's talk about what's next. Look, ultimately, John's going to be his own man and make his own call. But after a performance like that and making a fast turnaround, it's the inevitable question, right? George St. Pierre alluded to it in his retirement. What is next? If you had to guess what is next, both in timing and opponent, who do you think it is?
We're going to get together this week and break it down. I know Thiago Santos is looking very strong. John always gets hyped for the idea of a super fight. He said he wants to fight 3 to 4 times this year. We want to give him a little break, though. We want to make sure that fire is always well lit under him. And back-to-back training camps is definitely a grind. He was excited to get in there, though, and have this quick turnaround and make sure there is no ring rust. And I think as a fan of the sport, we're lucky to have the greatest of all time actively competing once again. So he wants to stay busy. Maybe it's the big international fight week in July. Maybe it's something big in the fall. We'll see. I'm always interested to see what DC's up to.
He wasn't. I didn't see him
there.
I didn't see him tweeting that much. Did you?
No. Surprisingly. Yeah, we'll see. I'll be interested to see what the UFC brings to the table, and we want to get John a little rest and then get him back in and just keep growing Jon Jones. That's an important time for us to be in camp without an opponent and just develop and continue to sharpen John's arsenal.
By the way, I noticed something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I one time on the mats dislocated my own toe. Ooh, that sucked. It was not fun. And he, of course, had that broken one against Chael. He tapes it. Does he tape it on the buddy system? Is that the same toe that I saw?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he does it in the fight, but he definitely does it in the warm-ups.
Yeah. We just try to keep everything like more preventative injury, and with as much as John kicks, it's not even the Chael injury as much as it's preventing future injury. So, we just want to keep him sharp and keep him feeling good. And yeah, we go through a lot of tape in camp.
What do you make of DC's silence? And I have to say, as a observer, I have a tremendous amount of respect for DC. Obviously, I know you do as well. I was glad, actually. I was getting a little exhausted with the rivalry. I do want to see them fight in the future, but for this moment in time, I was happy to take a break.
Yeah, I was happy for it too. I like when these guys get to celebrate their nights. And same when DC wins. I like it quiet on our front or just a congratulations. I think that will always be looming, though. Everybody will always want to see a trilogy there. And DC's had so much success since John's fight, and he was double champ and heavyweight champ. And but I think for right now, there's a lot of intriguing matchups in each of their respective weight classes. So I just like having fun with that idea.
What do you, by the way, is there any chance he fights heavyweight this year, or do you think these 4 fights or 3, whatever they end up happening, are all going to be at 205?
I think this year will probably be at 205 unless, some really intriguing super fight gets offered. But I think John's just fine being light heavyweight champ of the world and defending this title as many times as we can.
What did you make of Johnny Walker's win?
The kid's impressive. He's explosive. I saw a really impressive stat that he's only thrown 30 strikes or something in his combined UFC career. So his knockout to strike ratio is like 1-9. That's impressive. We definitely got our eye on him. And he's charismatic. He's fun. He has a swagger to him. He's creative. That's a fight that is definitely on the horizon, I'm sure.
But if you had to guess it, you probably, again, nobody knows, especially with UFC these days. But it sounds like you guys think Thiago Santos is next.
And, that's what Dana was alluding to in the press conference. He's been looking great. He's a powerful, very powerful 205 pounder. I'm sure that's something that intrigues a lot of fans. And I like that there's some fresh blood in the light heavyweight division. When Jon started, it was kind of like the older reign of some of the Pride legends. The Shoguns, the Rampage Jacksons, the Vitors. There were so many of these legends for us to chase after, and now, Jon's the legend, and these young guys are coming up, like Johnny Walker, like Thiago Santos. So it's cool to be in this position now.
Has Jon ever fought someone who brawls the way that Thiago Santos does?
I think he's fought a lot of brawlers. I would consider Anthony Smith a brawler. I think we've fought some very polished MMA boxers with explosive hooks like Rampage Jackson, like Shogun. And then we've fought a lot of really polished technical MMA strikers like Gibson, like Machida. I think Thiago brings a different kind of power. I don't think he's as polished or refined as a Shogun or a Rampage. I think he's probably a little closer to Anthony Smith's style.
Still, though, Anthony Smith fought a less brawler style this time, didn't he?
When you have Jon Jones in front of you pressuring and feinting and level changing and throwing kicks, it makes you question trying to load up on a big hook.
Yeah, I suppose that it does. By the way, speaking of the 4 times in 1 year, look, every fighter's different. Everyone's a different age, different experience, different injury level. What do you make of Israel Adesanya with 6 fights in 14 months? By the way, he's won 5 of the first 6, so something's going right. But I've been asking him, that sounds like a heavy workload, man.
We trained Cowboy Cerrone for a long time where he was working at a pace that was about that insane. And, when you're on fire, you're on fire. And you got to keep it going. And sometimes you don't know it's too much until you get in there and you feel a little flat and burned out. Or you have a camp where everything really starts adding up. But, Israel's a brilliant fighter. He's been in it for a long time. With his kickboxing background, he's used to competing at a high pace and training often. The guys over at City Kickboxing in New Zealand, they know what's up. They know what they're doing. And hell, man, when you're hot, you're hot. So keep it going. And I'm a big fan of what Israel's doing. I love his swag. I love what he's doing. So as a fan, I'm like, hey, man, keep competing.
As a fan, do you want to see Jon fight Brock? It's like, as a media guy, it's like, well, it'd be great for me. The views would be through the roof. But look, man, I don't think it takes a genius to be like, I don't know how competitive that is.
I don't know how competitive is either. I think for the casuals that a guy like Brock brings to the sport, it will be super high numbers and a high payday. I think for the challenge, just the size of the man that Brock is, I think that's something that intrigues Jon. I think, Brock will bring something different. It would be fun. It would be intriguing. But as far as, is Brock the most polished mixed martial artist that we've ever competed against, and what is our game plan going to have to be, and all these things we're going to have to watch out for and train for? No, I don't think it's that.
Well, here's what I know. Not only are you one of the world's best MMA coaches, it looks like you're the town mayor of Albuquerque with those clothes on as well. So,
yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, congratulations on a successful win. And again, I've been telling you this. Can't wait to see what you guys have in store in 2019.